Hey everybody, how's it going? I hope you're doing all right. Those of you that are TIs. I'm going to try to make this short. I don't want to go on and on for an hour, but I found another reason, possibly in my personal life, why I was targeted. So if you've watched my older videos, then you may know that I had basically narrowed it down to 4 possibilities why I was being harassed and why I was targeted, because I've been targeted for over 20 years now. And the first reason that I came up with that I thought maybe I was being targeted was the fact that I had just gotten back from Japan the same year that I realized that I was being targeted. That was one possibility. I don't know if that's the real reason, but the other possibilities had something to do with the church. My mom reported something to the church the year before the targeting started. The third possibility was maybe it had something to do with my dad, because my dad was living in New Mexico around the time of the Roswell crash. And there's more to that I'm not going to go into now, but maybe it had something to do with that. I didn't know. The fourth possibility was that it had something to do with my grandfather, who was a Mason. So 4 possibilities that I could come up with, because in my life, like, I've just always been, I knew it wasn't anybody that I had known throughout my life, because I've just always been nice. I've always been polite to everybody. I mean, I've always treated everybody the same, regardless of ethnic group, regardless of socioeconomic status. You know what I'm saying? I knew that it wasn't anything that I ever did to anyone, because I never did anything to anybody. I've always been nice. I've always been polite. So I narrowed it down to those 4 possibilities, but I just discovered something else that I wanted to share with you. This has been over 20 years that I've been targeted, and it's a long time. And I never knew the reason, okay? For over 20 years, I never knew the reason. I kept searching and searching my mind, like, what is it? What is it? What happened? Where are these people coming from? Why are they doing this to me? And I could not figure out what the reason was. It was only in the past 5 years that I came up with those 4 possibilities. But now something told me just recently to look into my ancestry. I know, like, other TIs have said that before, and I just never had the chance to do it. But something told me just recently, like, go look into your ancestry. So you know what? I was like, okay, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to go look into my ancestry. And I did. And I found a couple things. The first thing is that by accident, I found out that there was a man, a scientist who was involved in the Manhattan Project, who had the same name as my grandfather. And this is not the Mason grandfather. This is a different grandfather. This particular grandfather of mine was an artist. He was not involved in science at all, not even like in school. I mean, he wasn't even in like the science club or anything. He wasn't into science at all. He was an artist. Theater, things like that. That's what I was doing when the targeting started. I mean, just like as far removed as you can get from anything that you think anybody would care about. I mean, I don't know. Or anything serious. Because, I mean, those of you that are truly targeted, you know this is serious. Like, this is a high-level, sophisticated type of harassment. So it's not going to be any minor, oh, you auditioned for a job, you got it, somebody else didn't. It's not going to be stuff like that. But here's the thing. The Manhattan Project, I mean, you know what that is. That was, and I only know a little bit about it. I know it had something to do with the creation of the atom bomb, okay? And they dropped the atom bomb on Japan in 1945. I had nothing to do with that, and neither did anybody in my family, okay? But one of the scientists that was involved in that project had the same name as my grandfather, and it was the same first, middle, and last name. Same exact name, first, middle, and last. And the site that I found with my grandfather's name it listed his date of birth it listed his year of birth as the same year my grandfather was born. So it looks like that man is my grandfather, and it's not. Because I looked into it further, and I mean, first of all, my grandfather was an artist. He wasn't involved in science. And the second thing was, my grandfather was still a child when that man was going to college. And the third thing is, they lived in totally different states. So what I'm thinking now, and I mean, that really blew my mind, because this harassment is sophisticated, and it's coming from a very high source, and it may be coming from the Japanese mafia. Okay, because I told you the harassment started when I got back from Japan, and I was in Japan as a theatrical performer because I'm at least a third generation theatrical performer, okay? And I didn't even know that. I'm trying to figure out, why didn't anybody tell me that? I mean, it's kind of important. I mean, I worked as a theatrical performer. Everybody tell me, no, you can't do that. No, you're not going to do that. I did it anyway. And now I find out I'm a third generation theatrical. Like, what is that? Like, both my parents and my grandparents met in the theater. Like, I just find it odd no one told me that, but whatever. Anyway, the point is, that man in the Manhattan Project is not my grandfather, okay? And whoever thought, I could see some Japanese dude going through my Ancestry 20 years ago when I didn't even know, going through my Ancestry and matching up the names. Because think about it. I mean, have you ever tried to read Japanese? I remember they tried to teach me Japanese when I was there, and I was like, oh, hell no, I cannot do that. I'm sorry, I can't. It's too much. Imagine a Japanese person trying to learn English. And I mean, I've known people like that. I'm like, oh my, wow, that is really hard to go from Chinese or to go from the Asian languages to the English language. That is really hard, okay? At least I think it's hard. So I can imagine some Japanese dude, while I was over there going over my ancestry and going, oh, look, her grandfather was in the atom bomb. You know, and I've been targeted for 20 years because of that. And it's not even my grandfather. My grandfather wasn't even in science. He was a theatrical performer. He was an artist. He had nothing to do with that. He was probably against it. And I'm the only person that I personally know, that ever spoke out against the Japanese bombing. Like, if that's the reason they're targeting me, then that just shows the level of corruption. I don't know. I don't even know what the word is. First of all, I'm trying to figure out why this dude had the same name as my grandfather. That's the other thing. I'm thinking to myself, because I don't know much about this, okay? But I've heard other people talk about it, and I've heard them say that the men that were involved in the Manhattan Project were ex-Nazis. I heard something about, I can't remember what it is. That Project Paperclip or something like that? I can't remember what it is. Okay, I don't know much about that, but I know that man has the same name as my grandfather, and it's not my grandfather. So what's going on with that? I mean, okay, so here's what I just want to present to you guys really quick. Think about this for a second. If they're evil enough to drop an atom bomb on an entire city, 2 entire cities of innocent people, if they're evil enough to do that, don't you think they might be evil enough to also use fake names? It blows my mind that nobody thought of that. That was not my grandfather, okay? I have no connection to that. No one in my family has any connection to that. I'm against that. 20 years, more than 20 years of my life, they've been targeting and harassing me, making my life a living hell, ruining everything in my life that I ever tried to do that was good, ruining it based on a false premise. It's not just evil, it's beyond evil, okay? It's stupid, it's irresponsible, it's juvenile. The things these people do, And if you're targeted, then you know. I just had some dude come by my house and say my name out. My son was out there playing, come over to harass me. He said my name and told me to get lost. I have stuff like that happening all the time. I have people making like weird animal sounds, like on the other side of my like wall. It's juvenile, okay? And some of it is juvenile, some of it is, here's the thing, okay? It's a very sophisticated technology that they use, but they're juvenile. They're incredibly juvenile. What it seems like is that it's coming from a very powerful source. Okay, so whether it's the Vatican or the Japanese mafia or something else, I don't know. Or the freaking Nephilim, I don't even know, okay? Whoever it's coming from, whoever it is, they have a very high level of influence, and they are using very sophisticated technology that the mainstream population doesn't even know about. For example, the audio spotlight. How many of you know what the audio spotlight is? How many people know what the audio is? I know some TIs know what the audio spotlight is only because they're targeted, but how many other people know what the audio spotlight is? For some reason, it's not in the mainstream news. Nobody ever talks about it. Why? I mean, it's pretty sophisticated technology. They just talk. It's laser sound. So they can be really far away from a person. I don't remember what the exact distance is, but it's probably more sophisticated than what they put out there. I mean, we've heard top-level military people come out, and I can't remember names right now, but they've said, yeah, the technology that the military has is at least 20 years more advanced than what they're showing you in the public. So, I mean, even if they are showing you something, like, for example, the audio spotlight, there are things, what about voice synthesis, voice cloning technology? All of that are things that are in the public domain that nobody knows about. I mean, people don't even know this. People don't even know that you could pick up your phone, you could think you're talking to your friend, and you're not talking, you're talking to some other person. You could be talking to some dude in Japan or China, for all you know. Because they have this voice synthesis technology, voice cloning technology. They can talk into this software thing, and the voice that comes out is your friend's voice or whoever they want. It's voice cloning. This is technology that is in the public that people can find if they want to. But they don't even know about it. The average person doesn't even know about it because the average person is watching TV, and TV is not going to tell you. The mainstream news is not going to tell you. And the audio spotlight, the laser sound, I mean, a person that's a far distance from you could shine this audio spotlight on you, say things, make it sound like people around you are saying things, make it sound like, anything is going on around you. I remember I would hear like explosions. There was a time in there where I would hear explosions, and at night, I'd be like half asleep, and then I'd wake up and it'd be gone. I mean, just all kinds of things like that I have to wonder if it's the audio spotlight. Like, are they trying to make me think it's my neighbors? Are they trying to make me think it's the people that are around me, and really it's not? And that's what keeps me reserved. You know what I'm saying? Now, I know that that's not the whole story, because I've had targeting situations where the person isn't just saying something. They're not just making some weird noise, but they're actually doing things. Like they have certain things that they do physically that matches up. Like they all do it for some reason. Okay, so it's just, the whole thing is really weird. Okay. But what I'm saying is that at least part of what they're doing has to do with the audio spotlight. So every time somebody's saying something to me, calling my name out, outside my window or whatever, I have to wonder, is that the audio spotlight? Because of course they're going to use high-level sophisticated technology. And think about it. Why would somebody do something? It doesn't make sense. And I agree. It doesn't make sense why these people harass you in plain sight. Well, one of the things that is always consistent is that they never do anything that anyone could video that would be obvious harassment. All of the things that they do are things that are only meaningful to you personally. That was something like it might have been an assault that happened to you as a child, for example, because that's something that they use on me. I mean, an actual assault that happened to me as a child. Like, who the hell does that? And they taunt me about it all the time. Who the hell does that? Like, what human being does that? You know what I'm talking. If you're a TI, you know what I'm talking about. It's hard to explain to other people, but what I'm trying to say is, yes, there are people who know that they're harassing you and they're doing it, but that's not everybody. There are also people who are doing things, and they think that they're rehearsing for a show or something like that. Now, you may not believe me, and I'm telling you this right now. This is something, I'm going to tell you something else. That I remembered, and I can't believe I didn't remember this for the longest time, but years ago, literally like, it was over 20 years ago. It was like in, I don't know, maybe it was in 92, 93, somewhere around there. I was in acting class because I'm a third generation theatrical performer. Why would I not be in acting class? It's just natural. I was in acting class. I was pursuing a career in Los Angeles in acting and other things. And I was working consistently doing musical theater. Well, I was in an acting class and there was this guy that approached me and he was older than me. He was at least 10 years older than me. But he was attractive. And, the teacher told us to find a partner and he approached me and wanted to be my partner. And I was like, okay, whatever. And we had to do a scene together, and he said he wanted to do a scene that he wrote himself. He's like, oh, I'm a writer. I want to be a writer, and I wrote this scene, and let's do this. And I was like, okay, whatever, because I just kind of was really young, and I just kind of had, like, who cares, whatever, let's just do the scene. I don't care what scene it is. So then he says, he's like, well, let's rehearse, because we were both living in the same area. We were living in Hollywood. North Hollywood specifically. And he was like, well, why don't we meet and like rehearse our scene? And so we met up and we were going to rehearse the scene outside of class. And he was like, okay, so I just have this thing, like, if you're a real actress, then you should be able to perform this scene in public and no one should know that you're an actress rehearsing a scene. And he's like, don't you agree? Isn't that what a good actor is? And I was like, yeah, I guess. I mean, Well, he wanted us to rehearse. He was like, so, do you think you could do that? Do you think you could, perform this scene like believable enough that nobody will even know that we're rehearsing a scene in public? And I was like, yeah, of course I could. And so he was like, well, let's go do the scene at this one place. And I can't remember where it was. It was a public place. I don't remember if it was a school campus or what. I can't remember right now. I remember what it looked like, but I can't remember what it actually was. Like if it was a library or what it was. I can't remember right now. But anyway, I was like, yeah. And so we went and we did this scene in a public place. Well, like I said, that was in like maybe 92, which was like 3 years before I noticed the gang stalking and the harassment. So at the time, I'd never heard of gang stalking. I had never heard of anything even remotely like that. It never would have crossed my mind that he was using me to harass someone. You know what I'm saying? Like the fact that he wrote that scene and he wanted to rehearse the scene in public in this certain place. It never would have crossed my mind. And in fact, it didn't even occur to me, literally, you guys, that incident did not even occur to me until just in the last year. And I've been targeted for 20 years. And it never clicked in my mind. I never even remembered that incident because it was just a stupid acting class. And I rehearsed a scene with this guy. And I never talked to the guy again because I don't remember right now what exactly it was, but I don't know. It was just something about it. I think maybe what it was that he wanted to do a different scene again in public. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? No. It was something like that where at some point, something about it just didn't seem right to me, although I didn't know what it was. You know what I mean? I didn't know why. I didn't understand what was going on. Now I do. Now I look back and I'm like, oh man, that dude was a gang stalker. He was harassing somebody and he was using me. Okay, so what I'm telling you is, number one, I know that some people are stalking and harassing and they know that they're doing it. Okay, so they are truly involved in some type of secret network thing that they are involved in. But outside of that, there's a larger population of people who do not know who are being used by those people. So for example, like think that they're auditioning for something, or they think they're rehearsing a scene, or who knows what they think, okay? Because there's all different types of harassment. But that's the second group of people, and it's much larger than the first group. There's an even third category, and that is the audio spotlight, where the first group of people who are involved, they know they're involved, and that's the smallest group of all, right? Well, they have access to high-level technology such as the audio spotlight. They can use the audio spotlight on you and make you think that it's everybody around you, whereas it's really not. It's not that many people. It might be a few, but it's not that many. You know what I'm saying? So you're thinking it's everybody around you. It's all these people. You're thinking it's maybe not everybody, but you're thinking it's like this huge percentage of people that are harassing you, when in reality, it might just be one sicko dude using an audio spotlight everywhere you go. And he's like, 10, 20, 30, 100 feet away from you. Like, for example, in a store or something like that. And you're thinking, man, why are all these people like, it's usually, because think about it, if you're a TI, isn't it usually people saying things to you? I mean, I know that sometimes it's things that people do, and I know that sometimes it's things that, it's those two things. I can't think of anything else. It's usually something that they're saying to you or something that they're doing. What percentage of it would you say is things that they're saying to you versus things that they're doing to you? And here's the other thing, like I know other people have problems with police and stuff like that. And I do, and I have as well, which is ridiculous because it doesn't even make sense. It's like, what? Why are the police bothering me? Like I'm quiet. I stay to myself. I'm not harassing anyone. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. What else is there? I don't know what else there is. I'm not even bothering anybody. I'm not even rude. You know what I mean? Like, why are the police bothering? Like, it doesn't make any sense. But what it is that this central network, the people that are in the network, will spread lies about you, and they try to get the police to come after you. They basically, they're putting in false reports, which in my opinion, I think they should be arrested for putting out false reports. Because that's illegal. It's illegal to file a false report on someone with the police. It's illegal because it's a waste of government resources. And that's what they were doing. That's what they do to all these different TIs. So those people need to be... I don't have the wording, but... Anyway, the point is, there's all these different levels of harassment, but the audio spotlight is a big one. That's a huge percentage of the harassment is coming from the audio spotlight. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I just wanted to tell you this is not an update, by the way, because I'm not going through like every single thing that's happened to me since the last time I talked to you. I'll do that later, because I mean, when I do that, that's like it's just a lot more work. You know, I have to like sit down and I have to write it out loud, and then I have to, but I just wanted to let you know that, like, I just found out there's a fifth, you know, another possibility for why they're harassing me, and it has to do with the Japan thing. So, I mean, that's just one more reason why it might be the Japanese mafia that's doing it, that's responsible for it. I'm just saying that's a possibility. I'm not saying that's what it is for sure, but it makes sense. I mean, this man in the Manhattan Project who has the same name as my grandfather, and then I have to wonder, why, if they did use fake names, like if all of the Manhattan Project scientists use fake names, which would not surprise me at all, why did they use my grandfather's name? You know what I'm saying? Like, what exactly, and these people are evil, right? I mean, we all know that they're evil. And so, are they really human? You know what I'm saying? Because if you've been through some really serious TI stuff, then you're probably questioning whether or not they're human. Because I know I am. I'm questioning whether or not they're human. So they're pure evil for dropping a nuclear bomb on 2 cities. But not only that, what they went and they set up and they framed children. Because my grandfather was a child when that dude was doing his evil stuff. But they lied and they said he had the same birth year as my grandfather? No. What? I mean, anybody who looks into it any closer can see it's not the same man. But why were they trying to frame my grandfather for that? You see what I'm saying? They're doing evil and they're setting up these other people. Why did they choose my grandfather? Why didn't they choose somebody else? You know what I'm saying? Like a theatrical performer, really? I mean, maybe they choose him because he was as far away from the scientific community as possible. I mean, maybe that's why. I don't know. But I don't think so. I think it was done on purpose. I'm sorry, but this thing is very sophisticated. And I'm 20-year TI, and it's probably been longer than that even. And I'm telling you, some of the stuff that's going on, I'm not going to get into it right now, but it goes into places that almost seem like, let me put it this way. I can understand why some people think that there are, like, you know, spiritual things or whatever. I just don't I can understand why they think that, but I don't think that. Because from when I study the Bible, and you guys know I'm not Christian, but I study the Bible all the time because the prophecies are coming true. I was raised Christian. I went to church more than the average person. I went to church 3 times a week. I was forced to study the Bible. So, I mean, I know that stuff. It's ingrained into my brain. And there's a difference between somebody who, you know, never studies the Bible, but then they go to Bible school when they're 18. There's a difference between that person and somebody who was ingrained in the Bible teachings, okay? Because I was the person that was ingrained. It was engraved into my brain, okay? Like, it's a totally different thing. So, like, people will come to me and they'll be like, I don't understand. How did you even know that? I know all these Bible teachers, pastors, and people, they've never discovered that. And I'm like, I don't know. All I can tell you is I didn't go to Bible school. It was engraved on my brain, okay, as a child from like age 2 until age 13. So maybe that's why. So, like, I wasn't Christian. Like, at age 13, I was like, man, you guys are a bunch of hypocrites. I'm out of here. And I left. And I never wanted to have anything to do with the church, and I still don't, because I know they're hypocrites, and I'm not hating on anybody. But come on, some of those priests, they're like the most evil people on the planet. Some of them, I'm not saying all of them, but dude, you can't be like sitting there thinking that the people in the church are the good people. That's just not true. So, I mean, I'm not part of the church, but I grew up in the church. I had really, really, really scary, bad experiences as a child in the church. Okay, so there's just no way I'd ever go back to the church. But what I'm saying is, though, I understand Bible prophecy. I understand it better than a lot of these pastors do. It shocks me. It shocks me how some of these pastors that are really famous are unbelievably clueless when it comes to Bible prophecy. Like, they really don't understand it at all. It shocks me. And I can't think of an example right now. Sometimes I watch some of these people that go on Sid Roth and I'm like, I can't even believe that dude said that. Like, he's so clueless. He doesn't even understand the material at all. Like, there are some really simple things. Like, for example, the two witnesses. Anybody who thinks the two witnesses are two literal people, they don't understand the prophecy. Okay, because it tells you that they walk among the whole earth. How do two people, it says they lie dead over the whole earth. How do two people lie dead over the whole earth? I mean, that's just one example, okay? They don't understand the material. I don't necessarily blame them because, again, it was not engraved into their brain for 10 years? For me, it was engraved into my brain more than 3 times a week. It was more like 5 times a week because I went to church 3 times a week, and then 2 more days out of the week, I had to go preach to people. But what I'm trying to tell you is, when people try to come to me and say, well, you don't have any authority, don't even try to tell me that. Yes, I do. Okay, I spent 10 years out of my childhood. Don't tell me I don't have the right to come in here and teach you Bible prophecy. Those dudes that come over and tell me that I need to shut up because I'm a woman, please make me stop talking right now. I don't want to say something I'm going to regret. 5 days a week from the time I was 2 or 3 years old until I was 12 or 13. 5 days a week learning Bible stuff, okay? So don't tell me I don't have the right. Yes, I do. I do have the right. And I understand it a hell of a lot better than most of the famous pastors out there that everybody worships like they're gods. They freaking don't even understand the material. They don't. So when I left, I didn't want to have anything to do with it. I didn't think about it for a long, long time. It wasn't until recent years I went back and I revisited the material because I realized that there was more to it than what the church was teaching. There was a lot more to this. So what I'm saying to you is, these people that are harassing you, are they human? Do you think they're human? Because I'm saying I don't think they're human. And when I really started looking into the Bible stuff, I realized that it's actually telling you that there are non-humans among us right now. Like right now. It's not talking about something that happened a long time ago. It's talking about right now. Non-humans among us. And it pointed to the Roswell crash. It pointed to the Roswell crash. It pointed to the year it happened. It pointed to that time period at the end of World War II. The prophecy points to that year as being the start of the feat. And that's when the dragon is cast to earth. That's when the Nephilim are on the earth mating with humans. There's non-humans among us. They're not humans. The people that are harassing you are not human. And here's the other thing. And I'm convinced, but some of them might be humans that are being used. Like I said, they may have used me in the past and things I didn't even realize what was going on because I was, studying acting. It was so easy to use people that are, wannabe actors and actresses. Oh, let's go rehearse a scene in public. I mean, how many people are going to do that in Los Angeles? Now, if you move away from Los Angeles, so for me, that was in North Hollywood. But if you move away from Los Angeles, then that gets less and less likely. But if you're in an area, though, where, if you're near a college or something like that, you might want to consider that they might be using, people that are in the theater program to do that, because that's a really easy way to get people involved. Anyway. And if you are a theater performer, don't ever do that. Don't ever let somebody come up to you and say, hey, I wrote a scene. Let's go rehearse it in public. Don't do it. don't do it, because they're trying to use you as a gang stalker. And you know what? Go to the police. Highly likely, though, that any of those theater performers are going to be watching this TI video. But if you are, I'm just saying, don't do it, because that might be what they're doing, because that's something that's going on in this country right now, organized stalking, and that's exactly what they do. They do these scenes in public to terrorize. They're terrorizing people. That's what they're doing. And unfortunately, most of the assaults, they actually are assaulting these people, but the assaults happen when they're children. And then what they do is they taunt them about those assaults later in life, hoping they'll kill themselves. That's really what it is, you guys. That's what's going on. That's at least one level of what's going on. I know that's what's going on with me. So, and the only reason they're doing it is because they know it works. They know they can kill you that way. That's why they do it, because it works. That's it. There's nothing more to it than that, because they know that people will kill themselves if that happens to them. It's just what happened. I've always said I will never, ever kill myself, because that's exactly what they want. And I'm not going to do it, because I know that I'm coming out with with this totally new, perfectly valid explanation of Bible prophecy that nobody has ever come up with. I'm not going to kill myself. They can't make me kill myself. I'm not going to do it. I know what they're doing. I know why they're doing it. I know how stupid they are. I'm not going to kill myself over some stupid idiot. I know how stupid they are. Some of these people are incredibly stupid, okay? Not all of them are, but some of them are ridiculous, like juvenile. They are all different ethnic groups. I've had people from varying ethnic groups, and I haven't even really kept track of that because I wasn't, it took me a really, really long time to even like pay attention to stuff like that. Like it literally took me 20 years to like pay attention to ethnic group. I never paid attention to stuff like that, which I don't know. Some people are going to think that's weird because they grew up in a different place. Where I grew up, we did not have racism. And I mean, if you don't experience something growing up, you're not going to understand it. It's not going to be a part of your life. You're not going to understand people who are that way. You're not even going to know what's going on with them because you didn't grow up. And so I know a lot of people don't believe that because they didn't grow up that way. Like if you grew up in Los Angeles or some other place, then it might be different, but I didn't grow up there. I grew up in a place where I didn't experience people that were racist. Nobody was racist where I grew up, or I didn't know anyone who was racist. So things like that didn't like resonate with me, but when I look back on it though, it seems like it was a wide variety of ethnic groups. It wasn't just one ethnic group harassing me. It was a wide variety of ethnic groups harassing me. It was a wide variety of, like, they weren't all dressed the same. You know, they're all dressed differently. They come from a wide variety of backgrounds. So what I'm saying here is, okay, audio spotlight, people that seem like they're involved, but they really have no idea what's going on. And then the other group is those people who do know what's going on. They're involved in a secret society. But the ones that do know what's going on, that's the smallest group of all. And the biggest group of harassment, I think, is the audio spotlight, the use of the audio spotlight, so that they make it seem like everybody around you is harassing you, when in reality, that might not be the case. And who knows how many times, and who knows, like, maybe they're using the audio spotlight on somebody else to make it look like it's you. You know what I'm saying? Like, who knows how widespread this is. But yeah, they're targeting certain people. And they may have targeted me because this scientist in the Manhattan Project used my grandfather's name, and it wasn't my grandfather. So, evil. I mean, this world is so evil right now. And people don't want to believe it, and I completely understand that. There are a lot of people who live in a kind of, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to. The majority of people in this world are living in a kind of false reality. I mean, it's hard to explain. Like, it's like they live in the world of CNN. They live in the world of mainstream news, mainstream television. You know what I'm saying? And I do not watch television. And so every now and then, though, I'll go back to look at what is the most popular TV show, and I'm shocked by how they're programming people, because it was this steady racism thing that started like a while back. And like I said, I never saw any racism between anybody when I was growing up. It just wasn't there. And so and we had all different ethnic groups. So ethnic groups were all friends. That climate didn't exist. So it was totally new to me to come out of. I almost feel like did I like slide into a different universe now? Because now it's like everybody's freaking racist. It's everywhere. And everywhere I look, there's racism. It's everywhere. I never experienced that growing up. I didn't see it. We had all different types of ethnic groups around us, and everybody was friends. There was no racism against anybody. It didn't exist where I grew up. What is going on? Like, did I slide into a different universe or something? I mean, it's just weird. I can't figure it out. I'm like, what? And so I go and I look at the television shows, the programming on TV, and I realize, like, it's been a slow and steady programming. Like, programming people to be angry at certain ethnic groups. Like, a lot of the stuff they're saying on TV is totally false. Like, I've looked at different documentaries, and I'll hear something, and I'll say, and just be shocked that they're telling these people things that are totally false, that they have no evidence for, and people believe it because they are people that watch TV all the time. They just become dependent on it. Like, they think they're receiving true information. So, man, I did not want to go on for an hour, and it just happened. But I just felt like I needed to get this off. I just felt like I needed to tell you guys, just share this, because it might be significant. So I don't know, it could be Japanese mafia, or it could be something even worse than that, like something like aliens, non-humans that are just using it. Because what the non-humans will do, just hypothetically, whoever is doing this, I mean, we've watched how they work. We know how they work. You can look throughout. If you study history, then you can see what they're doing. See, that's the thing. You go and study history, that's what's really going to get you riled up, because you can see it's so clear what they're doing when you go back and study history. And one of the things that's really obvious is that their tactic is like the Three Stooges. Okay, the Three Stooges. Remember the Three Stooges scene where the guy in the middle grabs the head of the guy on the one side and the guy on the other side, and he smashes their heads together? Classic Three Stooges scene. That's what they're doing at the top. That's how they win. That's how they've gained control all this time. They present themselves as the peacemakers. Oh, they're the peacemakers. They're the saviors. They're the people that are so nice. Except what they're doing, though, that you can't see, the parts of their tentacles that are out there that you don't see, they're raping and pillaging. Okay? All right, my battery's low. I'm going to have to go. But all I wanted to say is you look back through history and you can see that they want to put people against each other. That's what they're doing. They get one group, one country, and all riled up to hate another country. So here's what they did, okay? Okay, sorry about that. my computer died and then I had to go recharge it. So, but let me just finish what it was that I was saying. At the very top, the people that are orchestrating all of these wars are intentionally provoking certain countries to go after other countries. What I'm saying about, let's just look at the Japan thing, for example, because that's something that I personally have experience with that, because one of the scientists in the Manhattan Project used the same name as my grandfather and tried to pose. They tried to say that he was born the same year as my grandfather, which is false. Because again, he was in college when my grandfather was a child. But the point is, why did they do that? What's going on? And how many of them were doing that? You know what I'm saying? Is it just coincidence, really? Some people on the outside can say whatever they want to say. They can say, oh, it's just coincidence, blah, blah, blah. Well, they don't know the story. They don't know that. They don't have all the information. If you were to gauge like all the information and, put it on a scale of 1 to 10 and say how much information do those people have, it's less than 1. Okay? They don't have any information, so they really don't have the right to talk about it. What I'm saying is, to me, it looks like the Manhattan Project was set up to frame the United States. And so we know the Nazis came over and were involved in that. What I think is really going on is that they purposely framed United States citizens while they themselves were German citizens. Or it could have been Nephilim. I don't know. Maybe they're not even human. So there was a man posing as my grandfather who was involved in the Manhattan Project. That might be the reason why I was targeted and harassed, and my life was ruined for the past 20 years. You see what I'm saying? And it's because they framed my grandfather. They tried to make it look like my grandfather was involved in something he wasn't involved in. There's a whole lot more to that story that I don't even want to get into right now, that does cause me to look at whether or not this actually does involve non-humans, because of the fact that that was near the Roswell crash. That was near where the Roswell crash happened. And it just causes me to question, like, what's going on here? Is this invasion of the body snatchers? I mean, what is going on here? That wasn't my grandfather. That's not what I'm saying. But does it have to do with that? And it definitely was not my grandfather, okay? That's not what I mean. I'm not talking about, I'm saying there's something, the whole thing is connected. It's all connected. So, and there's other things that, like I said, I just don't want to go into right now, but it causes me to question how deep this thing goes. Like, if they're gonna frame my grandfather and ruin my life because they framed my grandfather, which, again, I'm saying I don't know for sure if that's what it was, but I mean, it really looks suspect at this point. So what I think they may have done is I think they may have framed the United States. Ask yourself this question. Did you actually witness, did you know anybody who actually worked on that bomb, who actually went up, flew over there and dropped the bomb? Do you personally know anyone? Because what I'm saying is, if you don't have personal knowledge of that event, then how are you sure that that's the way it happened? Because what I'm saying is, I personally have evidence that those people that were involved in the dropping of the bomb on Japan were not really United States citizens. They were posing as United States citizens when in reality they were not. That's what I'm saying right now. There's this whole element, there's a beast element setting up shop in the United States, and the majority of the people in this country are not involved. They don't want to be involved, but there's this evil element setting up shop in our country. And that's all I wanted to say. There's one other thing, okay? Because when I was looking into my ancestry, I also found out that there's this really famous Hollywood actor that I'm related to. We are like 7 generations back, which isn't that far back, I don't think. But anyway, 7 generations back, we had the same grandparents. And this person is freaking huge. Okay, he is super famous. Because you know how there's some people are actors, other people are stars, and then other people are superstars. This dude is a superstar, okay? I mean, I'm not trying to be offensive to anybody else, but you know what I'm talking about, right? And I'm not saying it's all that great to be a superstar, because maybe those people aren't even human. I don't know, because so I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, it's kind of weird, right? Like, I find out I'm related to this person that is freaking hugely famous actor, and I'm not going to tell you who it is, but maybe that might be another reason why I was targeted, because I remember 20 years ago when I first noticed the targeting, I remember having a conversation with this guy who was a producer of one of the student films that I did. And he was actually Japanese, by the way, which I don't know, could be related, maybe it's not. Hey, this really long conversation, he was asking me, it was like an over-the-phone audition, supposedly. And I was really young and kind of stupid. And anyway, so I'm like, yeah, whatever. And he was asking me all these really in-depth questions about my name, my family name, all this stuff. And it wasn't really like... It wasn't like he was asking me questions about my family's names or anything like that. It wasn't like that. But I mean, I look back on that and I think, why did he want to know, like, all that? It was just sort of, I look back on it now and I think, yeah, that was odd. I didn't know that it was odd at the time because I was just really vulnerable and and just naive. But I look back now and I think, yeah, that was odd. And I just wonder about that because that was right around the time the targeting started. So now I find out that I'm related to this really big actor in Hollywood, and I'm thinking to myself, so was this person doing their genealogy? Because I mean, look at were they doing research into their ancestry, and then they found out that I was a relative of theirs, and then that's how I got targeted? I'm not sure. I'm not sure how it all started. But anyway, those 2 things are things that I found out recently. One, there was a scientist in the Manhattan Project using my grandfather's full name and his year of birth, which is crazy and ridiculous because it was all false. And then number 2, I'm closely related to this really famous actor. So those are 2 more possibilities of why I was targeted. Either, and actually the Manhattan Project thing, that ties into the Japan thing. So so there are now 5 possibilities, okay? And so I had to tell you because I don't know what these people are going to do. I mean, I don't know if they're going to kill me. I don't know what they did. They do that. They kill people. We know that. So I don't know what they're going to do next. I have to tell you guys, I have to get this information out there so that you know if something happens to me, at least some level of truth about what was really going on. And they're liars. I mean, the Bible even says they're liars. They're deceivers. That's what they do for a living is lie. They just lie, lie, lie. Everything's a lie. So, I mean, I guess that's pretty much it. I don't really have anything else to say. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. It turned into an hour. I started off saying it wasn't going to be an hour, and here it is, an hour. Or I was going to try not to do an hour, but then I ended up ranting. And anyway. So again, that was not an update. That was just like something that I just wanted to share with you, a specific thing. I'll have to do an update later. On all the specifics of the harassment that's been going on for the last couple months. And again, I mean, I don't do that because I think it's fun. I do that because it's necessary. If something happens to me, I want people to know the truth about what was going on and not the lies that they tell. Because in the media, they are always telling lies. It's just all lies. You never know what really happened. Anytime you hear a news story, I mean, for me anyway, anytime I hear a news story on the mainstream news, not even anywhere, even if I hear it on alternative news, wherever I hear this story, I always just think to myself, okay, first of all, is that even true at all? Like, is there any truth to that? Because there might be absolute zero truth to it. That's the first thing I question. Then the second thing I question is, okay, if there's some truth to it, like maybe the person really did die or maybe the person really was shot, but what about everything else? You know what I mean? Do they just make up the whole story behind it? I mean, what is really going on? There's all these crazy mass shootings happening. They keep blaming people that are dead so they can't defend themselves. So, I mean, I don't know. Anyway, I'll let you go. That's pretty much it. I hope you're doing okay. I hope you're hanging in there if you're a TI. Don't let them win. Just hang on. Just hang in there. Try to hang in there. That's all you can do. I mean, you can only do so much, you know what I mean? And not everybody can even do this. Like, I'm able to do this. Some people are able to do something else. I mean, you can only do as much as you can do, and some people can barely even hang on to stay alive. And if that's all you can do, then just don't let go. And I'll talk to you later. All right, bye.